Greetings, everyone. Thanks again for joining me on the channel Healthy Wealthy Mindset. Well, where we talk about all things healthy and all things wealthy. I wanted to talk about something that I have been getting in regards to questions people ask me because of what I do. Now, what is it that I do? All right, I am a self-proclaimed transformational financial service specialist. Why do I call myself that? Because that is what I do. No, seriously. Before I get into that definition of who or why I, coined myself as that person in this industry, I want to read the definition of transformation to you. And this is from, I like to use these Black Goddess cards, and it's the Sparkler. Shout out to blackgoddesswithin.com. If you're interested in purchasing those cards, you can go there and make your order. But transformation, it means we tend to think of transformation as a significant change already completed. What the Big Bang and flash of a large fireworks display does not demonstrate are the numerous experiences, attempts, and missteps that contributed to the original idea to create a sparkler, right? Sometimes the sparkler itself, a mindset shift, a new perspective, an unfamiliar willingness is tantamount to the spectacular 4th of July display as you see here on this card, as a reference, because we all know the fireworks associated with the 4th of July display. I'm just doing this disclaimer because I'm not promoting the 4th of July. I'm just giving you a reference point. And basically that's what the definition is expressing here. So it says the spectacular 4th of July display, even though it appears small and seemingly insignificant. So meaning from that definition, a sparkler, it was something that I experienced and I witnessed that was a spark within me to follow this path of being a transformational financial services specialist. Now, I do provide different types of life insurance products and policies and services, in addition to long-term care, in addition to health insurance. However, on my journey of being a transformational financial services specialist, I have discovered so many things about myself in the financial world as I'm working with people who are or have gone through similar things as I have, such as lack poverty consciousness, being without the means or the resources that you need at a particular time in your life, or not having the resources that we teach and that we provide, such as estate planning, such as just using life insurance as a means of creating generational wealth, as a means of investing in other avenues or other types of ventures that could create more wealth. I'm finding that there are so many ways that you can use life insurance, and that there are so many before us that have used life insurance. However, there was a disconnect in my community, the community of melanated people, whereas not all of us had that type of information handed down to us, right? So, and it's no knock on those who came before us. That's just how it was. And I'm pretty sure those that are listening to me understand exactly what I mean. Like, I want to take a friend of mine and myself were having this conversation about the unfortunate events that happened in Tulsa, Oklahoma with Black Wall Street. And now, fortunately, you have so many people that's pretty much mimicking or mocking that concept, which is great. Like, they're creating Black Wall Streets however way, they're talking more about it. But I actually didn't know anything about Black Wall Street until, I would say maybe I was an adult. All right. So this isn't anything that we talked about in school. It definitely wasn't. It just wasn't talked about. So it wasn't until maybe my 30s when I found out about it. And then in knowing more of how resourceful the community was. You know, there was people who lived for and by each other, melanated people. They had their own city, own community. You know, they had bankers, they had lawyers, they had teachers. I mean, those folks were living very, very comfortably. So just imagine being in that world, or being a child, you know, living in that world where you don't have to worry about anything financially because your parents have it, or if they don't have it, your neighbors have it, or your grandmama have it, but everybody just pretty much worked together to make sure that their community was thriving. And then all of a sudden you get these bombs out of nowhere that come and destroy the whole community, right? Killing people that you familiar with, that you're related to, that you grew up with. Like, these demons just came and just blew up that whole city. And then, so the next day or thereafter, there was no more community. There was no more resources available to these people. And I specifically said, you know, I was thinking of myself, or think of yourself as being a child in that situation, right? Now, another aspect of what I do is I infuse energetic healing, or more so energetic awareness. Like, where are you emotionally, mentally, or energetically when it comes to finances or your financial world? Because regardless of what status you are, what socioeconomic status that you are in your family are, you know, that is something that we all have, which is energy. And that's something that we all, until now, maybe, have not honed into or tuned into when things were happening in our lives that centered around resources, or being secure, safe, um, connected, you know, thriving, such as, you know, our ancestors did in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So then again, going back to being a child that's dealing with that, when the root chakra, let's just say, is being developed, which is ages 0 to 7, and root chakra is responsible, which is actually at the base of your spine. We all have it, right? And I'll be talking more about it on this channel, but I would advise you who are not familiar with that to look it up, because we all have 7 physical chakras here, but we actually have more. But I'm focusing now on the root chakra because as a little girl, a little child in that situation where your root chakra is basically, you know, it's red, it's thriving, you know, you're secure, you're getting fed every day and night, you know, your family's doing great as far as money wise, you know, there's no type of concerns that that child would have until that day of the bombing, right? So what happened? They lost everything. People died. So you have a child that experienced that. So now it's like that whole root chakra, unbeknownst to them, because we weren't talking about this. They don't know what's going on, but it actually happened. Like, now it's like their root chakra just went imbalanced, you know, in disarray at the age of 6 or 7, when it's like the later stages of that root chakra being developed, right? So just imagine you have, not imagine because it really happened, but you have a whole generation of people that experienced that. Not only in Oklahoma, but you're talking about even before then. Melanated people, our people on these lands, on the lands in Africa, wherever, right, have gone through periods of being stripped away of what they knew that was giving them security, what they knew as a culture, what they knew as a language, what they knew as a community was taken from them. So everybody's energy is off. Everybody is insecure. Everybody is scared, fearful. Everybody is, it's horrific. You know, the impact that not only Tulsa, Oklahoma, but other situations have had on our people. We are descendants of that. We are carrying that, whether we know it or not. And I'm focusing more on melanated people, my people, because that's what I know. And I see and I experience a disarray when it comes to money disorders. When it comes to the fact that we can't even come together as an organization to acquire funds for a cause that's important to all of us, because everybody has their own mindset about the, who's taking the money, who just want it for money. And it's just like, it's awful. It's like our people can't even ask each other for favors without somebody think you're trying to take advantage of them or use them, or you're not going to get it back. It's like we're so just you know. But then you have it, it's like it's imbalanced, because you have people that are wealthy, that they were born into wealth. You do have melanated people that were born into wealth, whether it may be from a celebrity or just this particular family knew how to manage and make sure that that wealth was sustainable and it generated. You do have families like that. I know families like that, trust me. And even in that, it's a disconnect, because of, for the most part, they're going to be associated with other people of color who may not have that leisure of being born into wealth, or knowing how to manage money, or knowing how to take properties and flip them and make a reoccurring wealth stream for that family. You have people that are just learning that, people who have no idea what that is. So it's still like it's very imbalanced, right? So you take all of that, you take everything that we've gone through, that our ancestors have gone through, and how it is embedded in our DNA to be distrustful with money. I mean, even I could talk on as me being a transformational financial services specialist, a life insurance broker. I get a lot of pushback from people that look like me sometimes. They would rather, do business with somebody who they are used to seeing do business like this. For the most part, life insurance just became, kind of popular within our community over the last few years, right? Why I got into it is because, one reason is because when I started taking care of my grandmother's affairs, and just, the type of policy she had was something that was for the most part cheap, which is something that many of our elders and people in back in those days, um they were provided life insurance policies that weren't set up for generational wealth, that were just set up to just take care of the funeral expenses, which is okay. And for the most part, they may be paying a very low premium, which is something that does, even to this day, I can say it as a life insurance broker, low premiums and just that low target, like wanting to pay cheap, like that's something that we need to get over, because that actually is what happened to her, getting a cheap policy, paying $10 a month, and not even probably having $1,000 for the payout, the face amount, right? And even with it being a whole life policy, probably by the time it's ready to be paid out, it's probably $2,000, which, as we know, is not enough for a burial expense, but it can work for cremation. But even at that, the education wasn't provided to my grandmother or people in her generation. That wasn't a concern, right? The concern was, do I have enough money to pay my bills? Are we going to eat tomorrow? Do I have enough money to get the kids stuff for school? Like, that was a concern for most melanated, most colored families back then. Not all of them, but most. So now we are at the age where many of us, which I'm so grateful, are getting into the mindset of being business owners, and knowing how to maximize funding for their business, and terms that I would have never said until maybe the last 5 or 10 years. Now I'm talking about it on a regular basis because of what I do. And I say to myself, if I had known then what I've known now, of course I would have been more, financially secure at this age than I am. And I would have been able to pass it on to my son when he was at a younger age. So it's a domino effect is what I'm trying to say. And I, give huge shout out to those who are like me, who are in the industry, who are actually providing education and providing resources for people to help them understand how they could actually get out of that whole mindset of the lack poverty consciousness, not because we want to be in it, but because it was basically handed down, knowingly or unknowingly. And also becoming more communal about resources, like providing and generating resources, because what I find in our community, like, we're very closed off. You know, you always think of somebody trying to get over you, and people do be trying to get over you. So I get that, you know, but it's like you have to have eyes in the back of your head now, you know. On one end, we do want to create community of wealth and generate wealth, and then on one end, we're like this, like thinking everybody trying to is out to get you. People are only supporting people who they like. They're not looking at it as a business endeavor, but I'm going to support this person because I like them, you know, and to each his own. But you have to look at the total picture, the whole picture of why are you doing this. Like, somebody asked me, am I in this business to become wealthy? If I was to say no, I would be ignorant, because I don't know of any person who takes a step towards being a entrepreneur, or you know, doing anything with money, and their long-term goal is not to be wealthy. So I would have to say absolutely yes. However, I understand that this is an educational journey for me and for those who I work with. And in saying that, I would like for you to consider having a strategy session with me. The strategy session is for, and please forgive me, I do have notes. Strategy session is for, I would say, open-minded people who want to tap into various ways of securing their finances and improving their money mindset. People who have a woke quote awareness about their current financial situation, or they're open to develop one, and they want to heal and thrive from anything that may have been holding them back. So in me pursuing this endeavor, it was definitely a lot of revelations. First, beginning with my grandmother, and secondly, myself, you know, always having the same results, knowing that I was insane as far as how I was managing money, or how my relationship with money was just totally off. Not because I wanted it to be, because I knew I had to dig deep as to why. If I have so much money in a bank or an account, why do I still feel broke? Why do I still feel that all this money has to go to somewhere else? Meaning, and a lot of us do that. We get money, we think of all the bills we got to pay. We think of who we got to pay back, you know, which is good. You have to, but we don't necessarily think about ourselves, or what can this money do for me in the long run? What can it do for my children in the long run? A lot of us have been at this stage in our life when it comes to money as a hit or miss, or it's like a knee-jerk reaction, right? And that comes from, like I was saying before, things that we have knowingly and unknowingly, what our DNA has been exposed to when it comes to the rattling of that root chakra, when it came to our ancestors when they were little children, and us being little children. And okay, yeah. And that's a domino effect, right? So I'm gonna end it here. Again, I do want to introduce you to the strategy session that I have. I'm gonna put the link below for those of you who may be interested in signing up for it, and I will get more information about it on my next video. But I just wanted to introduce you to that, and to just basically the oxymoron behind woke not broke. And I want to say this, shout out to Billy Carson. He does have a book called Woke Not Broke. But when I first saw that book, I was like, he absolutely was not the first person to say this term, because I do remember. And if I go back to my old Facebook account, I was saying that, I have to say probably like 2012, 13, I was saying, and I'm not saying Billy Carson wasn't saying that. I don't know. I didn't know who he was back then. If he was, we definitely was mind leak, because that was a term I would use often. And I even made a post about it like back 2011, 12, something like that. And it was just on that topic, not even knowing that I would even be, because I wasn't in the financial industry at that time. I was actually working for I forgot anyway, but I wasn't in the financial industry at that time. But I was seeing how there were so many people, including myself, that had these attributes about them that signaled them being woke, but they was broke. Like the poor righteous teachers mentality, the people who were very good at giving knowledge and sharing knowledge about, raising the consciousness of colored or melanated people. But then you have these people that were screaming money is evil, and those of us who were acquiring to be money rich was on a demonic course or demonic path, and that all rich people are evil. Like, this was the mindset of some people who I was around at the time, and I even had to catch myself, But anyway, I'm gonna go. Thank you so much for stopping by to the Healthy Wealthy Mindset channel. And again, I will be back to give more information about the strategy sessions that we are producing now, and getting you all on board. Let's talk about your money story, and how your money story, from not just your life, but we're talking about your ancestors and how it handed down to many of us, and how we need to fix that. We're in the age of information. We need to fix that. And my answer to that is clean yourself inside out, outside in. You have to. All right? So, thank you very much for joining me today. And until next time, peace.